Subscribe our channel and press the bell icon for watching more video.
How do you install the SAP GUI? Your access provider will give you a dump of the SAP GUI. It's just a piece of software that you use to connect to SAP. Think of it like a browser. A browser to the internet is what the SAP GUI is to SAP. Just open that folder, double click on it, go to this folder, go to GUI, Windows 32, then click Setup, click Next. For practicing SAP MM, all you need is the SAP GUI. Click Next. If you're satisfied with the location, click Next again. And it's going to take a while. And it should be done in like 5 minutes. Close this. And your SAP GUI is ready. So the next step is you want to get connected to SAP. So it's like clicking your browser, opening it, and then typing in an address, right? Like Gmail or whatever. So the service that you want to connect to will be entered in the browser, right? So similarly, open the SAP GUI and click on this new icon. Click Next. And this is the screen where you specify the address of the service or the server that you want to connect to. For example, I want to connect to an ECC server. So just name it as ECC, and the application server is the exact location that you want to connect to. For example, if you want to connect to Gmail, you connect mail.google.com, or if you want to connect to CNN, you say www.cnn.com, right? So if you want to connect to your SAP server, you can either use a domain or an IP address. Example, in my case, I'm going to connect to a domain, ecc6.domain.com. This is just an example. So your service provider is going to give you the exact IP address of the domain. And you have to enter an instance number, and that will be given by your provider. The ID will also be given by your provider. So you need to enter these three pieces: ID, number, and an address. Click Next, Next, and Finish. This is the simplest way to connect to SAP. So click on Login. You put your user ID here and you put your password here. So that's my user ID and that's my password. Hit enter or click the green check mark. Okay, we are now logged on to SAP. Think of it, I don't want you to really understand everything about the SAP GUI at this point. As we start doing transactions, we'll start to know more about subtle things. Think of it like a browser. You move forward and backward in browser, right? You move forward in SAP GUI using transactions. And if you want to go back, there's a back button. The menu over here is very much like your Gmail list of links. You go to Gmail and say, click on circles, anything with a hierarchical menu. So under circles, I have my family, friends, acquaintances, and following. If I want to see my circle of friends, what do? I go to circles, and then inside that I click on friends. Right? Simple. In the same way, if you want to look at a transaction, so this section here is called the menu path, and it's hierarchical, just like the way we have seen circles in Gmail. So if you want to execute a transaction, you got to first select what you're trying to do. Say if you want to create a purchase order. If you want to look at your circle of friends, you go to circles and then friends, right? So if you want to execute a purchase order, You want to go to logistics, material management, then go to purchasing, purchase order, and then create. So this is the transaction that you execute. It's just that there are more levels of hierarchy, nothing different. And don't worry about understanding all the levels right away. It's just not possible. You'll just see a pattern when you start doing things. Now if you go here, click on extras and click on settings, you'll see that each one of these transactions, for example, vendor supplying plan known for creation of purchase order, there is a technical name associated with it. It's also called as a transaction code. If you want to enable it, you go here and check on this option. So this is how you enable transaction codes or T codes. So check on that, click OK, and everything is going to collapse. And you start expanding the menu tree, and you're going to see the transaction codes. You see the transaction code here, ME21N. So the transaction to execute purchase order creation is ME21N. So this is an example of a transaction code or T code. So if you want to create a purchase order, there are two ways to do it. One is double click on this in the menu. The system will start to create the purchase order. You enter some details here. Another way to do the same thing is to go to this field over here. It's called the command field, and enter the transaction code there. What is the transaction code for this? ME21N, right? So this window is where you're going to enter the transaction code. I'm going to enter ME21N here. Put your cursor there, type in ME21N, hit OK. The same thing, right? You're again taken to the purchase order screen. So two ways to execute a transaction, one via the menu path and another via the transaction code. If you keep continuing to use the transaction again and again and again, you can drag the transaction to the favorites section. There are some other things that you need to know about the GUI, but we can learn about them as we go through the rest of the classes.